Hi everyone, good morning. It's our webinar. We're going to be starting our webinar, the 10 hats to every business. So this is quite an important one, and I always see it as a really important because as a business owner, you will be wearing every single hat, at least at the start and potentially even now. I always start just the seminars just by obviously I've said hello, so I'm Naylor as well. I haven't said who I am, so I hope you know who I am. And I have Naylor Accountancy Services is my company. That's accounting practice. I do have another business as well called Intelligent Outsourcing, where we do have the structure as well, which is why this sort of thing comes in. But this is for Naylor Accountancy Services, this webinar. So core values, to me, they are so critical. So I'm only starting by this. These are the core values that we have at Naylor Accountancy Services. So it's integrity, care, accountability, respect, growth, and excellence. So we have these and we go through them once a week just to make sure the team have an example of them and know what they are. And the idea here is that you want team members to know what your core values are, espouse them, and you only hire on the back of them. We will be doing a webinar on core values if you haven't got core values, but for me, they're critical just for any organization because you want people working in your business that espouse those. And also what I say to all my team is if you do something or you make a decision and it espouses one, and it's within the core values, so integrity, care, accountability, respect, growth, excellence, and have fun, then we will be supporting you. If it's outside of those, then you'll have a problem. So we have it eye charge. That's how we remember these. That's just a bit more. So we're going to have webinars going forward. I haven't scheduled them properly yet. So when we do that, I will share the schedule for those webinars. So thought for the session. So unless structure follows strategy, inefficiency results. That's Alfred Chandler. My mouth isn't keeping up with it. So unless structure follows strategy, inefficiency results. So your plan and your structure, they are linked. And let me just give you a couple of examples. So you might have a great business plan, and perhaps you've gone through the 7 ways to grow your business, and which is one of our other webinars that we'll be doing, and successfully increase your sales. But also so what goes up when you go sales? Your debtors. So people that obviously that need to pay you, so that they take longer to pay you, or you have larger debtors. And you'll need more stock, raw material, depending on what you are, service and labor, everything. So if you're a tradesman, you need more labor. So your costs also go up. And that does impact your cash flow, basically. So you need to have a strong finance department, and strict terms of trade are essential. Obviously, we can always help you, Naylor Accountancy, on any of the finance side as well. But you need to make sure every seat, every hat has a strong candidate in there, a person in there. Or if you are, this is another example, if you've got so much going on, you don't have any extra time, and therefore your plan reflects that, they reflect your desire to be more worry-free, and so have more free time, because a lot of business owners, you want more free time, and by getting more free time, that's where you sort of be looking at structure. So you create a structure which allows you to go on holiday without worrying, because you've got people with responsibility and everything doing the doing, back at the coalface, so to speak. So this is the agenda for the day. So we are going to start with mindsets. The reason for starting with mindsets is literally very, very simple. You, as a business owner, need to have this mindset, and you need to help your team look at the mindset they have and bring them on board with some of these mindsets so that you have more efficient and effective team members and a business. So that's the reason why we're doing those at the start before we look at the structure. And within those mindsets, you've also got the ceiling of complexity, how we can free up time capacity, the 10 hats of every business, and the 4 key principles of organizations, the functions, roles, and expectations of every single team member, especially within those hats, departments, or whatever you want to call them. And then we'll just give you some next steps to help you on your journey if you want them. But please, during this, have one thing, well, 3 things in mind. Look at 3 potential gems that you might get from this, 3 actions that you would take away. So whenever I do a webinar or seminar, or I go to a conference, I always want to be taking something away with me, which I will be able to action. So only think of 3. You don't need to think of more. And then the whole point is that you want to think about them and then look to implement. The biggest problem with any small business, and especially business owners, and I'm one of them, is FTI. So FTI, what does FTI mean? Well, FTI is failure to implement. So we all have great ideas. We know what we should be doing. We have learned some things, but we just fail to implement. Failing to implement is probably a lack of time, lack of resource, lack of somebody keeping you accountable. And again, we can help with any of that, being accountable and stuff, because we have, we can actually partner you and help you through any of these journeys. So your mindset. So I have talked a bit about mindset very quickly, but before we get, I just want to talk a bit about it. So it's your responsibility as the business owner for your business plan and your structure. And that's you. Obviously, you are responsible for that. So, but what happens if you are absolutely short of time? You're not able to do anything. So you're working really long hours, you're feeling out of control, and because of cash flow problems, poor team performance, and the competitors may be dropping their prices. Who's responsible for that? So by looking at your mindset, it looks at what you are able to control and then taking action to make sure you have some sphere of influence over that. So we're not in control of everything. So what you should be looking at is what are you in control of, and then making headway and action on that going forward. So that's the idea of this. And I'm just going to bring up one of my, I should say, Stephen Covey, he talks about this, focus on your sphere of influence and control that. Stephen Covey, we're going to be covering him in the Matrix in a minute. He's a great author of the 7 Habits of Successful People. And we'll talk a bit about that now. But this is one of the simplest and actually really powerful, which I was introduced by some amazing people, and it's called All Bed. So you've got all at the top, which is the ownership, accountability, and responsibility. That's above the line. So that's good. And that's your choice. So that's what you can control and look after. And then you've got the bed, which is the blame, excuse, and deny, which is sort of the victim. You're justifying everything. Nothing's your fault. It's because of them or whatever. You never taking responsibility. This is so powerful on yourself, but also with your team. So I use it with my team. So if I see anybody below the line, I will say you're below the line and you need to be taking responsibility, accountability, or ownership of whatever that is. And especially if that's their role and that's what they're in charge of. And then we also say, what can we control? What are we responsible for? What are ownerships? Not always is because of X, Y, Z. So this model, it improves team members' motivation, communication, engagement, and just results of the whole group situation, because people then realize they have to take ownership. If you look at our core values, which I went through, one of them is accountability, and that's there for a reason, because we need people to take accountability, right, responsibility, ownership of what they do, of themselves, if they do something wrong, they have to own up to it. They have to make it right, or ask somebody to help them make it right. The line. So I'm just going to talk through this. So the below the line, I'll talk about that first. So that's sort of speaking of you. So you did this, you did that, you. It's not my job. No initiative. So it's, you're justifying things. You don't want to take responsibility. You're pushing things over to someone else. And you will have obviously done this yourself, I'm sure, and you'll have team members that do this, and you'll hear it all the time. Now, I actually have tried to do this with my family, but they don't really like this one. So because I think within the business orientation, it's a lot better to do this. And you introduce it to everybody early on, like straight away. And I'm very happy to share this. So if you want to have this Orbed, this slide, just let me know and I'll send it to you. So above the line, that's where you want to be. That's like the victor, as you can see here. So that's where, speaking of I, so, you know, and just taking control and see what I can do. It's proactive. You're taking choices. So this is so powerful mindset, Orbed. It's very simple. I mean, it's literally just a line with O at the top, OAR, and BED at the bottom. And you don't want to be at the bottom, you want to be at the top, and you want all your team to be at the top. So you can literally draw a line. And I know some of my leadership team have actually done that on boards and do that with their team. So they draw a line and they just put Orbed in and go through it with them to make sure they understand it. Or I should have said, if you guys have any questions, do let me know. Just put them in QA or DM me on here, direct message me on here, and we'll do a Q&A at the end. Ceiling of complexity. So another important mindset is just understanding the ceiling of complexity. And what that means is, so everybody wants to, as you grow, you want return to keep going up straight. But what you see is not that. And I've noticed it in my businesses, and I've noticed it in other businesses, our partners and clients. So what in reality is, you go up and then it goes down, and then it goes up and then goes down, up and down. What happens in reality is you have a breakthrough. So when you get to that breakthrough, when it's going down, people make a choice. Do they just go back to how they were and don't grow anymore and just stay where they are? They're happy, they're in control, or they just don't want the fuss of being bigger and the more headache for them. That's how they see it. Or do they want to break through and then get to the next stage? Now you see this with people. Say if I mean, very simple. If you going over the 85K back threshold, you're a tradesman or someone, very simple, you know, just an analogy like that. So you go over the VAT threshold, you suddenly have to charge everyone 20% more. It's because you suddenly VAT registered. You will see everything go down. You'll need to get more people in probably as well, because and you'll need to be starting to go up to about 120 revenue before you start coming up again. This is our experience with clients, basically on tradesmen, and then you carry on. What we find is that some people don't, that they think, oh, I'm wasting all this time getting work in for other people, because you need to bring more people in, and I don't want to break through that, because that breakthrough seems so far away and difficult to get to. So then they go back down to below the threshold and stay there. So you have to break through, but this happens at very different stages of businesses, all the way through the lifestyle span. And you hear of it, like I was listening to a YouTube thing, and someone was saying there's a breakthrough at 1 million, 10 million, 100,000. I think, oh my goodness, 1 million, 10 million. I've got a bit way to go for that, but so anyway, but there are always these breakthrough and the ceilings. So your return on your growth, it just always goes down, and you will probably have already experienced this. And the whole point here is that when you go those, you need to make sure your structure is right to make sure you can break through as well. And you've got the right mindset, and your team members have the right mindset. And again, you do with the Orbed, you can bring that in and share that, because people have a choice. So people have a choice, do you break through or not? So, and fixing the organizational structure, that's often like the breakthrough that you need. And that's what I found in Naylor Accountancy Services, and also my other business. But with Naylor Accountancy Service, I was doing all the doing, and I was a bottleneck. Not all the doing, but I had people doing a lot of the compliance work, but I was meeting and everyone. Then I was able to bring in other brilliant leadership team members like Andy and Michael and France. And then we've got a great team behind them as well, supporting them. And that's been able to make me focus more on the leadership and the strategy and planning of the business going forward, rather than some of the other work that I was doing. So this is how you will find it on your journey, that you will see where you are, and you need to do that, get that breakthrough. So you need to get through that breakthrough to get to the next level, and then you'll find another one going forward. So I hope you can relate to that. This one is quite simple as well. The mindsets are very simple, but very powerful. So it's always worth really understanding them and then trying to work with them. So the 5 A's, so awareness, acceptance, action, accountability, and acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is very key, but we'll just go through it. This the first we just need to be aware is our structure, what is holding us back. So that's awareness. So because we're talking about structure, 10 hats, that's organizational structure. That's what we're talking about in this webinar. So for example, now we have a bigger team. We need to work with the team in a better way. So we can't keep an eye on everything anymore. And we need better systems, training, and set clear expectations. So the setting the clear expectation will go on to later, but that's like KPIs and things like that, as well as focus on their JD, the job description, and what they're actually doing. We also need to, accept that change is needed. So that's acceptance. So people don't like change, and nobody does. I don't. I know I need to do it. I push myself outside the comfort zone all the time. And that's what you as business leaders and owners will be doing as well. So you will always be pushing yourself outside. And that's when you start learning. And we look to do that with our team members and our leadership team as well. Push them out, because that's the only way they will get better and they will grow. And that helps you grow your business as well. So you need to recognize and accept that you do need to do change. So, how can you fix the structure? And like I say, this seminar is just a starting point. And if the solution was easy, then we'd all be figuring it out. So we can help you. There's next steps at the end where we can help you, obviously, if you want that. And we also need to take accountability. Now, I've already said that one of our core values is accountability, and not just that. We just saw that accountability, was part of the orbit as well. So it's very important, which is the other mindset we just covered. So with this, many of you already sort of working really hard. I mean, nobody has time. Time in any business, as a business owner, the main thing I hear and the only thing I have as an issue is time. I have a lack of time, and business owners have a lack of time. That's our clients and our partners. So time is the scarce resource you can never get back. So you need to utilize it as best possible. The 80-20, the Pareto rule, where you spend 80%, most people spend 80% of their time on, and this is, I've gone off tangent, sorry, but 80% of their time on the least important stuff, where you want to be spending on the most important, which is only 20% of your tasks. So 80% of your tasks aren't important, 20% are. We'll go on to that in a matrix in a bit by Stephen Covey. So we just need to sort of make sure that we're accountable, and that we are committed to the actions that we take. And it's always easier when you have someone independent and accountable, just holding you account to make sure that you are doing things and asking you what you're doing, because that's when you take action, when somebody is holding you to account. And lastly, and it's acknowledgement. So when we achieve success, what we tend to do is not just move on to the next thing as business owners. So you don't actually acknowledge what you've done. I'm the same. And then you don't really appreciate the way you've gone to and what you've accomplished. So you always need to just celebrate them to reinforce the behavior, and need to sort of continue to achieve success. And you need to do that with your team as well. So always sort of pat them on the back, make sure they know that you are really happy with what they're doing and everything. So we're going to go on to the next one, which is, so this is just a quote. So we're just talking about lack of time. So in truth, people can generally make time for what they choose to do. It's not really the time, but the will that is lacking. So it's the will that's lacking, not the lack of time. So this is by Sir John Lubeck. He won a Nobel Prize for pleasures of life in 1887. So quite an old quote. But if you just sort of think back, you know, as a business owner, you're the one who needs to take control of the business. And that's like the all-bed. You need to take control. You need to be above the line. And in order to do that, you need to get control of time. So if you can't control time, it's very difficult to move forward. So if you really want to break through that growth and from an improved organizational structure, you need to choose to make time to do it. And that's the same with everything. For me, I diarize things. Stephanie, my amazing executive assistant, she always will put things in, especially if I get emails coming in, she'll put it in my diary. And so I actually cover that off. And then also if I've got important tasks to do and things to sort out, I'll have them there. I still don't get around to everything, guys. So I'm not perfect, but we're looking at how to do this, make time for it. This achiever matrix. Now, I love this matrix. So with this matrix, it's a Stephen Covey one, and it's from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, he wrote this, I believe, back in '89, and it's had loads of iterations of just updates on it. It's still amazing. I really recommend you read or listen to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because they are very straightforward, and they're just very good. So within this, he has the achiever matrix. So I hope you can see these 4 quadrants. Now, within the quadrants, there's one quadrant that you want to be in, and that's quadrant. You know, you want to be in quadrant, but you want to be in the best quadrant possible. But that's not urgent, but important. So that's quadrant 2. So with quadrant 2, that's where you want to be. Most of us don't spend time there. You spend the time with what's important and urgent, because that's like your emails coming in, somebody's bombarding you. You need to do it now. So you have to get on top of it. So quadrant 1's the urgency, and that represents things both urgent and important. And this is where you're happy, you know, you would handle a sort of unhappy customer, meet deadlines. And we need to spend time in quadrant 1, but we also need to realize that many important activities become urgent through procrastination. So actually you're not doing it quick enough, or because you don't have enough prevention and planning. So we did an acquisition in Naylor Accountancy Services of another accountancy practice. They were working everything in quadrant 1, absolutely everything. So they were working all their year-end accounts to the end. So literally they extended it, because there's a way of extending, which I never knew until we took over the practice, for an extra 3 months. You could do it for 12 months. So you finish your year-end accounts on the 30th of June, 2021, and they wouldn't give you the accounts or finish it until 30th of June, 2022. They would tell you your tax on the day you need to pay it, basically. So the customer service there was horrific. The work was horrible. We were always in urgent, because it had to be done. Otherwise, there's going to be fines and everything. We took over that business and we just squashed it right down, because our aim is to get it done within 3 months of year end. So that means that you've got another 6 months until it's actually due, unless they extend it by another 3 months, so it's 9 months after year end that you're due. So you get another 6 months, and then you don't have to actually pay it until a year later, but then you can pay it after 9 months as well. So it gives our clients, our customers, so much more time. We are then not stressed, because we just have it planned. We know what we're doing, as long as our customers, clients are giving us information. And that's the biggest issue we have, guys. So if you can help us get information to us quickly, that would be awesome. So we have our team obviously looking to get that information to us quickly, so we can get on and do the work. And we do the same with VAT. So we look to get it all done by the 25th of the month at the latest. Payroll we want to get done as well. So we look to do everything quickly on the compliance, because when it's done quickly, there's no stress, and we have a happier team, we have a happier customer and client, and they know what their tax is. So that's why we don't want to always be an urgent and important, because I'm just giving Naylor accounts as an example. The quadrant 2, now that's quality. It sort of represents things that are important but not urgent. So here's where you do your planning, anticipate and prevent problems, empower the strategies, and develop your skills. I mean, this webinar, if you're on this webinar now, you are developing your skills. So this is in quadrant 2. You didn't have to come on this. You don't have to watch this video if you're watching it back on YouTube. But this enables you to learn something. And I'm hoping 3 things you'll get from this. So remember to write 3 things down if they come to you. And then this helps you. So, but ignoring this quadrant, it just feeds into and enlarges quadrant 1, which we saw with the company we acquired. They weren't even thinking of quadrant 2, because all they had to do is survival mode. And that's no fun for anybody, either clients or team members. It's just horrible. It is really horrible. So it wasn't a nice time for us, but we got over it. We worked really hard for a year, well, just 6 months to a year to get that sorted. And that's what you might have to do just to get into that quadrant 2. So get your structure right and processes. Quadrant 3, so that's not important and urgent. This is the quadrant of deception. It sort of represents things that are urgent but not important. It's sort of the noise of urgency. So it just creates the illusion of importance, but the actual activities are usually only important to someone else. And that's like many phone calls. You might have phone calls coming in, emails, meetings. So meetings is the really good meetings, but you should have shorter meetings because you can get through things quicker. People can stand up in meetings if they're regular, and you just keep them shorter, and then people focus more on what it is. Drop-in visitors, they also fall into that category because they're dropping in and they will take you away from what you're doing. So we end up spending a lot of time in this quadrant meeting other people's expectations, and we sort of fool ourselves into thinking that we're in quadrant 1, like urgent and important, but we're not. We're in urgent and not important. Quadrant 4, that's not important and not urgent. So this represents a waste of time. So this is where you want to spend your least time in here. So there's not urgent and not important. And of course, we shouldn't spend any real time there. But when we're all sort of a bit weary from being, going from one quadrant to the other, so quadrant 1s and 3, so quadrant 1 and 3, because that's urgent and important, that tires people out. So we escape to quadrant 4 for survival, effectively. But it's deterioration, so you need to be really wary of that. So it may feel nice, but it's empty time, and ultimately, not really satisfying. So just don't think of spending time there. So it's an area you've got to just be a bit wary of. Quadrant 4. So just think back over the past few days and last week, and just sort of which quadrant you spend most of your time in. So you probably spend most of it in important and urgent, and maybe some in urgent and important. But how much did you spend in not urgent and important? Obviously, you're spending this time now, so that's part of that as well. And then just think of, and most people are in quadrant 3. So just think of what the costs, and the cost that urgency is driving you. So urgency is driving you. And that means that you're not spending your time in the quadrant of quality. So creating business plans, sorting out your organizational structure, building deeper relationships with your clients, customers, and just growing your skills of your team. They're truly important activities, and they're just not receiving the time and attention. That's most business owners not spending as much time as they should in that quadrant. That's quadrant 2. The key sort of is to learning to see all activities in quadrant 3 in terms of how important they really are. So that quadrant 3, not important, urgent, just see how, really work out, are they really important? Is it somebody just calling you and spending a lot of time on the phone? Do you actually need to do that? Rather than how important it appears at first glance. So I'm just, then you can sort of reclaim time and just lose the deception of urgency. Now, this is very difficult to do, but always think you want to be in quadrant really 1 and 2. That's what you want to be in. And ideally not all in quadrant 1, because then you're not doing any development and moving forward. So that's the Achiever Matrix by Stephen Covey. Now we're going to move on to the 10 hats of every business. So in this, you have, I'm just going to go one by one through it. And I'm going to start off with the shareholder. The shareholder, that's the person who finances the business. If you're the business owner, that's you. If you're a limited company, that's your shares. But it is you. If you're a sole trader or anything like that, it's still you, because you are the one that finances that business. Director, so that's the person who maximizes the shareholder value. So the person's that of leader or leadership within the business, ensuring that it is actually creating value, so profit and revenue. And then the leadership, so that's the person or the leadership team. So you normally have one leader as in ultimate, but you may have a leadership team. So I have a leadership team because I want people's opinions to move things forward. I don't want to be just saying this is how we go and just go with it. When you're big enough, you can do that. If you don't have the people there, you need to be directing it all. And also it needs to be your ideas and they grow on those ideas. But with leadership, that's implements, the leadership implements the plan effectively. Product, services, and development. So that develops the products and services for sale. So it's looking at what you can develop to ensure that, that you carry on doing the right services. Do you add services? Do you change them? Do you improve them? How do you do that? Operations, so that generates the cash. So operations, they are very important, and you need to make sure they're working smoothly and efficiently. So operations is a very important hat department. So these are basically departments. Marketing, so that generates the leads that come in to the business, and that will eventually generate sales. So the sales, that converts prospects into customers, clients. So you need to be doing that. It might be through referrals, it might be that, but that is marketing. It might be, Facebook ads or click or whatever, your website, whatever it is, that's bringing in on the marketing, then the salesperson or sales hat is actually converting those to clients. Finance, that manages your cash. So there'll be invoicing, collecting payment, paying people, and making sure that the business is running smooth. Cash is always king. So if you have no cash and this isn't being managed right, your business won't last long. So you need to manage the finance. That's where we come in at Naylor Accountancy Services as your partner in finance. If we will help you on that journey. HR, that enrolls and engages the team. So you need HR to, it may be minimum. So payroll, you've got people on payroll, you're hiring people, you doing holidays. Again, here, some of these you can sort of use technology to help you. So with HR, we use Charlie HR, believe it or not. It's a great name, Charlie HR. That does our holidays and sick leave and things like that. So it's all online, so everybody can see it and book it in as well. And also we have a partner who's a HR expert if we need that as well. Admin, IT. So that just maximizes efficiency. So for me, in Naylor Accountancy and my other business, IT is so important. We were always at the forefront with Naylor Accountancy services on the tech side. Before, you know, in 2012, we were using Xero, Dex, it was Receipt Bank back then, and loads of tech to make sure we could do our job more effectively, and our partners, clients could actually see how their business was going straight away, real time, every day. Whereas before they were just on big old systems, which weren't enabling them to do that until they did the year-end accounts. And then, you know, if that was 9 months later, because they're doing it to the deadline, they wouldn't have a clue, and then it's too late. So by using the tech, we've made it so people understand their business, and we help them, those that are growing, especially with management reports and things like that, so they can actually see their cash flow forecast and everything like that. But that's comes from the tech. So, and also we have 2 screens. So I have 2 screens here now. I have the slides in one show, and then I have my notes here in front of me. But it makes you more efficient as accountants, definitely having two screens. All this is the tech and the Office 365, everything like that. So it's very important, tech and admin as well, because what we have in Naylor Accountancy Services is 2 admin people, a lovely Leslie and lovely Karen, and they are there to make sure that the accountants get their work in, and that our clients and customers are informed of what's going on and able to help them through the journey. And then they get them to their focal point, the person that looking after them, their client manager or the focal point, and then they will be speaking to them and going back to them and getting information in quickly, so we can then deliver our services quickly as possible and do a good quality one, so that we have admin to maximize efficiency as well. So these are the 10 hats: shareholder, director, leadership, product service development, operations, marketing, sales, finance, HR, admin, IT. Now you, as a business owner, have always worn these hats at the start. If you haven't, then you're lucky, because you have a business partner, or you had some money that you could actually offload and outsource some things for. If you've been having your business for a while, you'll have offloaded some of these to other people, delegated, and make sure they've got those responsibilities, or you've outsourced. So obviously giving it out to someone else who has that. But you always, as the business owner, have ultimate responsibility for all of these, as ensuring that they within the strategy and plan. So the 4 key principles, before we just drill down anymore, is so you need to consider the 4 principles you must never sort of forget when you're developing your organizational chart. So they just 4. One is there's only one leader. Now, there is only one leader, as in the main person, like the CEO, but you may have a leadership team, which is what we have in Naylor Accountancy Services and the other businesses. So with that means that you have one leader who sort of initially sort of gets the vision and the way forward. They are the visionary as well. And then what happens is that the leadership team will develop that, and they will start owning it as well. That's if you're big enough and you've got that. But you only have one, main leader, but you may have a leadership team within that as well. And the idea there is, at the start, that is you are that person, you are the leadership team, you're everything, and you wear all the hats. But what I was going to say as well is that within those 10 hats that you've got, you might have a leadership team or people that wear more than one of those hats. So you wear all 10 at the start normally, and then you may give some off to other people. And then the one leader at the top may still keep some of the hats, like the leadership, like the sales or something like that. That's normally what it is. So the relationships with their customers and clients, and then the strategy as well. And they tend to also be the shareholder. But responsibility and doing are not the same thing. So this is very important. So you have those 10 hats. You need to be delegating as soon as you can those hats, or some of those hats, to other people, so that their responsibility is that. Now that, and even if it is still your responsibility, it doesn't mean you have to do it. You can delegate that to somebody else. You may be responsible, or somebody else may be responsible for marketing, but they may have somebody else doing it. It may be outsourced, or it might be someone else within the business doing the doing of what that ever is required. But what that means is that you're still responsible for it happening and the results. You can't abdicate responsibility. You still have the responsibility. Again, it goes back to all bid. So you can't blame other people, oh, it's their fault. If that's your responsibility, your department, your seat, then you are responsible for that, and you have to be accountable for it. But it's a big thing there. So don't abdicate, take responsibility, but you can delegate. So delegate isn't abdication of responsibility. Roles before people. Now, this is something that isn't always easy if you've got team members already. So what you normally tend to do is have a thought of somebody in your head and create a role for them. I've done that. But with that, what you really want to do is create the role, get the JD, the job description and everything, and then make sure you get the right person for that internally, and then you email, or externally. Lastly, function determines responsibility. So to fully understand sort of which department each key responsibility sort of fits into, it's useful to sort of look at the function of each department first, and then also create a sort of like an actual description of what that is, so people know and there's clarity in what's going on. So this, I love this diagram. I love diagram. I love pictures. So this really shows it quite easily, these seats. So you've got here, you've got the shareholder at the top. So they're the finance of the business, like we said. You've got the directors, that's like leadership. And then you've got CEO and everything like that, which are effectively the leadership. And they have the hats there. Now, there could be 1, 2, 3 people, and they take on a few of those departments. It might be just one person that take on half, and then another one takes the other, and you might, or one person will take half, you still got half, whatever it is. But this is sort of, it can be more, it can all be you, this. But ideally, when you get to a certain level, you're able to, once you've grown and you're able to sort of have other people involved in your business, or you're able to outsource it to other people like the HR or anything like that, IT, then what you want to be doing is, and the finance obviously, then you can actually give them that responsibility. But you still have to have ultimate responsibility as the owner. So that's how you sort of see it. So each department function should have KPIs. Data doesn't normally lie as long as you are monitoring the right data. So it's not always easy getting the data. So what you find if you're doing the KPIs and creating that data at the start, what you would be doing is changing it. So you put it in and then change it. We have KPIs for Naylor Accountancy Services. And one of the things when we first started this is quite a long, many years ago now, but was for VATs. We were finding some of our VATs were going right to the deadline, like the 7th of the month. And that just stressed me out. I hated it. So what instead of having it, well, it has to be done by so we want it done by the 25th of the month. So we said they have to be done by the 25th of the month. We still found there was an issue because we still weren't getting information back from clients to customers on time. So we drilled into what was the problem. Well, the problem was they weren't getting asked for information enough times and early enough. So what we said is you have to have four communications or emails with the client customer before the 25th of the month, or so in the 20th of the month, to ensure that, and if you haven't got that, then you not make your KPI. What that meant, it drove our VATs being done quickly. So we were looking to get them done by the end of the month, by the 25th, the end of the latest. We never wanted to go in towards the 7th of the next month. So that's what we did. We drilled into it and we changed it, just a number of emails. So just on your KPIs, is every department should have loads of different KPIs to make sure that they're operational and that you can control it and you get the results you want. But never think that you're going to get it right the first time, and you will have to add things, I'm sure. So just remember the fourth principle: function determines responsibility. So if you're not sure which department or task, I mean, that's the hat, a task belongs to, just refer to the function of that department. So work out the roles that you need within each department. And they're not going to be the same for each business. So whatever your business is, they're going to be different. So you can't just say this is what they are. There is obviously generic in lots of it, but a lot of it's specific. And that's what we found as well. But just remember that you know, for each department, that some can be part-time or outsourced, and just create a list of responsibilities for each role. So, for example, the operational department, its role is to generate cash. So you may currently have people in your operations team sort of just making calls to slow paying debtors. So you know, they call the slow paying debtors to make sure the money's coming in quicker. And now that's actually a function of finance. So you don't want them doing that because that's managing cash. So that really should be within the finance department. So then that should be passed on, and that just frees up the operational team to generate the cash. So that's the idea of the functions. You need to help each other out, but you want to sort of try and get it in the right function. Likewise, you may have operations team members doing administrative tasks. To increase these efficiencies, you give it to the admin. But it's just looking at efficiencies, how you can do it. So determine the responsibilities for each role. So within this, to determine it, I've just put in here sort of like a job description. You want to be doing one of these job descriptions. Now, this is for a marketing manager, and you can see there's KPIs in there. You've got tasks. So you want to have KPIs and tasks in there. So the function of the marketing department is to generate leads. And that should be the key responsibility of the marketing manager. So you need to be monitoring those leads. If you don't monitor those leads and have the KPIs for them, you've got, there's an issue. So you want to just brainstorm with your team, the key responsibilities, and then just sort of, you can actually add them in, the tasks and responsibilities. So, I mean, here it's, marketing plan, marketing campaigns, events management, internal, external branding development, alliance building, database management, reporting. I mean, these are just examples. Every business is different, but you'll also have a lot of it is generic as well. So the benefits of an revised organizational structure. So we've looked at a marketing department and sort of the potential key tasks, and they'll differ, like I've said, business to business. And if you've got this clarity within all those departments, that will give you a better structure for your organization. Everybody knows what those areas are. So even if you are having one person doing a number of those, at some point, that those tasks will be able to go off to the marketing, the sales, or finance, admin, whatever. And then that's the sort of person that you'd be wanting to look for to take on those. So that's why having those all written out actually is really useful, just to get that clarity. So you want to be doing this process throughout all those 10 departments has. And but what I've found, so with intelligent, Naylor Accountancy Services and Intelligent Outsourcing, my two businesses, with those, what's happened is that by having the organizational structure and the leadership team there, it's enabled us to grow, and it's enabled me to extract myself and actually have holidays without worrying. I don't worry at all. I still clock in and speak to people if I want to, but I don't have to, because I know I've got a good team there, and we've got the structure behind it as well, and the processes and everything as well. But the structure enables that, and they take responsibility for their seats, their departments. And basically, you as the leader is identify the hats that you are actually wearing now. It's really important to identify those, and then identify the ones that you don't want to really be wearing, and that you know you can give to somebody else. Now, it makes by identifying the hats and that you're prepared to delegate, it empowers, and it empowers you. It's truly empowering for you and the people you give the responsibility to. Obviously, you want to give it to people who want that responsibility and want to grow. It's also, gives them a clear path progression. And that's what you need to think as well. It's not just you have to do everything, you know everything best. You need to trust other people to actually take on that delegation, that responsibility, and let go as well. So letting go is always a big thing. Letting go. Most business owners don't like letting go because they think that they are the only ones that can do it. I've been in that position many times, and realized you just need other people to do it. They may make mistakes, and they need to learn from those mistakes so that they can get better, because they will never get better if they don't take responsibility and then you empower them. I have written a book, basically, and it sort of encompasses this. Oh, I should have done this. So clarity of roles, impact. I've just put it all on here. So I've just talked through it. There's also less risk of burnout, which, as I've said about myself, I'm able to go on holiday. I don't worry. I still do work a lot because I've got 2 businesses as well, and I'm looking to grow them both. So I'm doing a lot of things all the time, and you would as well, but you'd be focusing what you want to do, not what is urgent and important. So that's the difference. Don't focus on urgent and important. Focus on what's not urgent and important, which is that matrix by Stephen Covey. It also increases efficiency because you're not a bottleneck. So as a business owner, you will be a bottleneck. I'm still a bottleneck on things. And then other people do become bottlenecks, and you need them to delegate and elevate. Otherwise, they stay there. And it also clears the path of progression, which I've just mentioned. So it shows other people the ability to progress within your organization, your business. And then this is the big one. All the issues don't come to you as the overall leader, the main man or woman, or person, I should say. So you, as a business owner, everybody comes with their monkeys issues on their back, and they want to put them on your back. And then when they're on your back, you have to deal with them. So what you want to be doing is, somebody tries to give them to you, you give it back to them. But if you have people with responsibilities for these departments, they need to take on those monkeys and deal with them, and then come to you afterwards. Unless they need, obviously, to discuss the issue, and then you create a solution. And you might want that with a group of people in your leadership team to do that. We do that. We call it IDS, issue, discuss, solve, which is part of Traction, which is another book, Gino Wickman. Okay. So we've been talking about today, the organizational structure. So if you think that you need to look at your structure of the organization, and you need to sort of fix your organizational structure, we do have a workshop, and I recommend you come along to it. It's a 10 hats group workshop, and it's a program that consists of 3 workshops, and you'll gain, organization. We'll create an organizational task, flesh out two roles, and also help you sort of create a plan to roll out the new organizational structure, so you can sort of free up your time and increase your effectiveness. So it's just this is what you gain from the workshop, the 10 hats workshop, and you develop your own organizational structure, flesh out 2 roles, know how to move forward with the remaining roles, overcome the structural ceiling of complexity, which is where you go up, down, rather than just the linear growth like that. And make a plan to free up your time and increase your effectiveness. So your time it was the thing that took me the longest in my businesses to free up my time to focus on what I wanted to focus on and to ensure I could grow my businesses. And that, as a business owner, is the hardest one, but you need that structure to be able to do it and to be able to sleep easier at night as well. Next steps. So how can we help you? So what I'd say this is, we have the 10 hats workshop. Again, I just remind you of the FTI, so failure to implement. So I hope you've got 3 things written down. You can go away and do any of this yourself and just drop me a direct message or email, and I'm very happy to just give you pointers and help and point you where to look on certain things. And we also will do a little blog on this. Obviously, you've seen the whole webinar. It is not going to be as much as this webinar, but you'll get an organizational review. So we can do an organizational review for you. Complementary client review. So we call these CCRs. So if you are a customer client of ours, we can do a complementary client review. It's an hour. So you'll be going through how your business is doing, going through your account, your Xero, QuickBooks, just making sure that everything's there. So that's an hour that you'd sit with us, maybe Andy or Michael, and going through your business. Proactive accounting meeting. So if you aren't a customer or client of us, we can do an hour proactive accounting. The complimentary client review and the proactive account review are free, by the way, so totally free. So we do that with all our clients, customers, a client complimentary client review. If you want it, we will actually do that and suggest it to people all the time. But if we haven't done one with you, just bring it up and we can definitely do that. We'd love doing those, or the team do. That's how we can help you. So identify 3 most important actions you'll take. So again, I've said this is 4. So there are 4 possibilities that you can do nothing. You might not be in the right place right now, but make thoughts on what you might want to do, and then connect with us later. And when you do, you might retreat and say, it's because it does retreat because it sounds more scary, because it's, you on the 5 A's is the acceptance that you need to do something different, change. You might take normal amounts of action, which is brilliant. And so I think you might need to take action, but I can't. But you might be saying I can do it myself, or most likely will lead to doing nothing or retreating eventually. So just make sure that you are, if you're thinking that you're going to do it yourself, make sure you are doing it and you're keeping yourself accountable, or get someone to keep you accountable. You might take massive action, and that's really where we can help you as well. And just work with people who know your business. Well, this is what I was just saying. So questions. So now we've finished. So I'm just going to open it up to questions. So I'm just going to stop sharing if I can. So are there any questions? So I hope that's been useful to everybody. It'll be nice to know if there are any questions. Let me just have a look. I'm just having a quick look if I've got any. Bear with me. So at what point would you be able to offload one of the hats? Now that's very with that it's different. It's always different. So you wouldn't, it depends on your growth and the cash you have as well, because you need to obviously outsource it or get someone to help you, unless you can do it yourself. So it all depends where you are able to offload it. So easy ones to offload are HR, because you always need to get involved, but you can then just have an HR specialist that you can go to when you need, or contract or anything that for a new team member. I always use team members, not employees, guys. And the reason for that is I believe you're at one team, like a football team, rugby team, hockey team, netball team, and everybody has a part to play within that team. And if you're employer or employee, it's the them and us. And I don't feel like it's the them and us. I would not have my businesses without my team members, and I want them to know that. And they are such an important part of our business as team members. So I'd say it all depends where you are in your business cycle on what you can offload, but look at the easy ones that you can. Finance. If you've got us as as your accountant, we can help you out on the finance side as well, and we will be if you are as well. Just have to connect with us. Got here, how can you help us see what we can do to improve our structure? So we've got the workshop, or a review. So we're happy to review your organizational structure or the workshop. So there is a fee for those. If you're interested, just let us know. We've also got the client, the CCR, so the client complimentary client review, but that's more talking about finance. We'll talk a bit about that in that hour as well. And we've got the proactive client accountant meeting, which is if you're not a client of ours, so we'd go through your business there as well, but only within that hour, obviously. Would you recommend I use Orbid with my team, and how would you use it? Yes, I would. So like I said, Orbid, that's the mindset right at the start. That is so powerful, and I really recommend it to anybody because it's easy, it's simple. You can draw it on a board, you can draw it on a piece of paper, which I've done. It's or and bed, so you just need to remember what the or stands for and the bed. So always go for the bed first, because you normally have to draw it up if somebody's below the line. You need to explain they are below the line, or it's this blaming, and denying and excusing. So that's like the victim mentality. They're blaming you, or whoever that else there is. And then you want them to move up to the orbit, so take ownership, accountability, responsibility, and that's the victor. So the way you would want everybody to be. So that's where you get your business going. What structure do you have in your Naylor accountancy services business? So yeah, I've sort of talked about that. So we have a structure whereby everybody has what we call seats, but a hat. People have hats. I have the overall leadership, but we, the one leader, but we have a leadership team. So we meet every week to go through. This is part of the rhythm of the business, which I've written in my book as well on this, which is coming out in September, guys. And then with that, we talk about issues that go through the data, which is the KPIs, just make sure everything's on track. And then the team members, the leadership there, talk with the team members. They have things there. So we have a structure, whereas I'm looking at the planning and the structure and the vision and the way forward. I get involved when I need to, but I'm looking at ways forward. So we're looking at growing Naylor Accountancy Services. So we're looking at ways we can grow. One of them is acquisition. So we're looking at that at the same time as growing organically. So if you know anybody who, if you are, interested in being, joining Naylor Accountancy Services as a partner, as a partner of finance, we call them, then let me know. Any others? How have you seen getting a structure has helped you as a business owner? Well, the big thing there is it's freed up my time, which I was mentioning, to focus on what's important to me, and also giving me peace of mind when I'm on holiday. I'm actually, for the first time this year, I'm looking to take my 25 days holiday, if not more, if I can. So I actually record my holiday, because I never used to. So that which, to my wife's annoyance. I mean, I may have worked whilst we were on holiday doing things in the past. So last year I did lots of holiday, well, quite a bit as well, but this year is going to be the most I've ever done. So yeah, that's how it's affected me. then what's the biggest tip for you? So the biggest tip I'd say is never think that you've got it right, and always self-develop and self-improve and look at what's out there. And look at the 5 A's. So, you know, awareness. So just be aware of things. And if you need to do change, accept it and go through, you know, everything. And then always acknowledge at the end, you know, anything that you have done. But always be looking at that constant improvement to move things forward. So I'm going to come to the end because we are running out of time. And I just want to leave you with one little parting thought. I don't know if you can see this screen. I hope you can. I hope it's the right one. So basically, management is about arranging and telling. Leadership's about nurturing and enhancing. That's Tom Peters. That is you as a leader. So it is about nurturing and enhancing. Management is arranging and telling. So what you want to be looking at doing at some point is actually nurturing people who become your co-leaders and manage areas so that they can manage and grow the team so that you can then oversee everything at the time. Anyway, well, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day. It has gone over a little, I think, so I apologize for that. I hope this has been useful, and we will be doing more webinars, and I will put a schedule out on the website for that. Have a great day. Bye.